Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar. Today we will be covering the topic of managing new product development projects with Microsoft Project Online. At Progility, we're known in the Microsoft PP and PPM community as experts in all things project and portfolio management. PMOs and CIOs typically come to us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all of their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports and metrics to make project-based decisions. We've successfully worked with large enterprises across multiple industries and have deployed PPM for IT, new product development, R&D, and engineering organizations. We offer services and solutions in three core areas: deployment and consulting services, which is Progility's core business, in which we provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project and portfolio management, including Microsoft Project Online, integrating PPM with line of business applications, and delivering strategic execution management solutions to support top-level management planning. We also have a growing business intelligence practice that leverages best-in-class solutions such as Microsoft Power BI. Progility offers a set of pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 15 years of experience in the PPM, SEM, and BI spaces, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, assist with migrating from on-premise to the cloud, accelerate visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, and aligning data between your PPM system and Azure DevOps to improve visibility, insight, and control over your work, people, and projects. Finally, Progility provides post-implementation support services, including expert care, designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand experience on the solutions supported. We also offer training for your end users and administrators and can assist with staffing your PPM admin role in your program office. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice video channel on Vimeo, listed on this page. Topics range from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with agile and line of business applications such as ServiceNow. So feel free to access this library at any time and share with your colleagues. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Rob Hirschman, partner at Progility, who's going to go through our content. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks everyone for joining. Today's agenda, first we'll focus on the new product development project management challenges. We'll then dig into how you can use Microsoft PPM or Project Online to support new product development project management, give you an in-depth demonstration of the different products and some options around it. Finally, we'll wrap up with some deployment good practices and give you some resources to get help with your deployment if you are looking to go down this road. So what we want to talk about first is really new product development from an overview perspective and some of the challenges we're seeing out there. When you think about it, bringing a new product to market is rewarding, but it's also very, very challenging, and it's troublesome to a lot of folks. There's a lot of moving pieces involved, moving something from a concept through evaluation, through successful launch, and having a well-defined product development process is a part of that. A lot of times you have many internal teams and stakeholders that are part of the handoffs in bringing that concept to market. You have design teams, engineering teams, you have marketing teams, and they all play a part in this overall life cycle. And the real challenge in coordinating this is coordinating the timelines, the phases, the deliverables. It's always key to the process and always becomes troublesome. It also takes a lot of skill for people to manage many of the moving parts that are part of this. A product development roadmap is a key part of this, and having some templates that help move things forward. There's also better ways to improve the process, and that's really integrating your product development process into your project management process and integrating that in with project management solutions like the ones we're going to show you today. So, when we look at it, you've got to be bringing that concept to market to enhance products. A lot of times we're finding challenges around coordination of the timelines and the phases, really a focus on time to market and execution and really being able to deliver what you've committed to the business, your stakeholders, and your customers, internal and external, and resource allocation and team management becomes one of the core requirements. So really, the top challenge really is coordination of all these efforts in a series of projects to support your product management lifecycle. So what we see is, again, at a top level, the first one is really managing those resources effectively. And we look at it, you've got your product launch efficiently planned, and a lot of times it's easy to think that the formula is easy. I'll just apply the resources to the process and everything works. But the reality is, project speed to market and efficiency and output quality varies based off of the resources you have assigned to those projects. And if you're not effectively managing resources and doing that as it relates to your products and your projects, you're going to have some challenges. The second key challenge really has to do with really setting expectations around product development schedules and life cycles. A lot of times you're really excited to jump into a new product and eager to roll it out, but you don't want to jump in and actually have too much enthusiasm and not have a realistic schedule and a timeline. So this is really one of the key challenges we see with product development. So the third challenge we see is organizing and sharing information. This is really a biggie. And so what we start seeing is that you're trying to find what information you need to make decisions, whether it's tasks or alignment on status or team assignments. There's a lot of information flowing across and between the product team that you should be able to handle. And not everyone in that process has access to the same information. So by having a centralized system and a centralized solution and a good process, you'll be able to actually provide different options to different views of the information, to different roles. And whether it's a visual like a Gantt chart or some kind of a funnel or some kind of reporting, these are some of the things you're going to be looking for to share information with your stakeholders. Also, reporting becomes a big challenge, and it's really important to get real-time reports out to provide that deeper analysis to some of your key stakeholders. As your process evolves and things change, you want to track your performance and reporting and get new information and new products come into the funnel. You want to be able to track and report on that. So having a centralized reporting mechanism is really important. The fifth challenge here is really around centralizing the communication and your overall vision of what you're trying to deliver. A lot of times you've heard of kind of the high failure rate associated with a lot of projects and programs specifically. There's often a number of things that come into that, and one of the biggest challenges has to do with lack of communication and misalignment on where the product is going. So by having a centralized solution in place, it'll really help you improve your product development process, provide better insight, make sure all the conversations are centered around the product and what you're trying to deliver, and make sure team members aren't left looking at emails and outside of the actual system to make these kind of decisions. This is really important so you have that visibility, you have that insight and control to keep the entire process moving, to keep the entire team on the same page, especially if you're working in a more agile framework where team members are a core part of the overall process. You want to focus on the outcomes, you want to focus on the results, and how you do that is to really centralize the communication and management of the information. So, how we do this in the Microsoft world is we leverage certain Microsoft-based technologies that are available today. Within the Microsoft Office 365 suite, we're going to be focused on Microsoft PPM or Project Online to do the project management, the resource management, the collaboration, and a lot of the sharing of information. That's going to be linked in with SharePoint Online to do that collaboration and sharing of documentation. We're also going to leverage Power BI for that analytics and reporting engine, so we can deliver reports and dashboards and look at throughput and metrics and see how things are moving throughout our overall pipeline. And then finally, we're going to use tools like Azure DevOps. If we have a development aspect to the products, a lot of times products involve software or software focused. A lot of that information is managed in a tool like Azure DevOps. How do we bring that information together? So we're going to show you that. So it's really about aligning all this, and keeping it all in the Microsoft stack helps you reduce your cost, improve your throughput, make sure people are using tools they're familiar and comfortable with instead of having to go out of this world. So when we start thinking about it, there's two sides of that overall life cycle. There's the top-down portfolio management and strategy, where you're going to be making your business decisions, where new projects and new products will come into your funnel, where you'll be prioritizing and optimizing them and doing your resource planning. And then at the bottom right, you have your execution, project scheduling, resource planning, collaboration, identifying issues and risks throughout the overall life cycle, and doing detailed reporting. So you can kind of bring these two worlds together. It's traditional PPM, really designed for product and portfolio management. It's going to help you better deliver products to market more rapidly at a better quality point. It's all role-based as well, so you've got your executives, your product managers, people in the PMO, more concerned about products, portfolio, delivery, and governance on the top left. You've got some of the stakeholders or resource managers on the right that manage the people involved in the different projects. You have the project or product managers who are actually responsible for the actual work and workload, managing issues and risks and schedule information. And then finally, on the bottom left, you have the actual project team members who are involved in actually doing the work, whether they're an agile tool like a TFS or a DevOps, or working in Project Online directly, or working in a collaborative tool like Teams. So bringing all this information together can help streamline the communications and really bring it all and put it all in one place. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to hop into an interactive demonstration where I'm going to be hopping in and out of the tools and walking you through an overall life cycle of what this looks like. Well, let's hop over here. Just pull up the right screen here. And we're going to start out in the project management world in Microsoft Project Online. So I'm just going to log into that here. Pull that up on the screen. And you should see this coming up now. Oh, that's Teams. Our good friend Teams likes to pop up all the time. And so what we're going to do is get into Office 365, which is where we are today, and we're going to go into Project Online. So we're going to click on the green icon for Project, and that is going to take us to our project landing page. And this is a landing page called Project Home, which is currently available for commercial customers. At some point in the future, it will be available for government customers. But this is actually one place you can go to see all of your projects in one place, and it's called the Project Home page. As I mentioned, you have the ability to do a couple things. Number one, a lot of organizations are managing all their projects, but they want a way to easily aggregate that information. So Microsoft has a capability called roadmaps. There's Teams popping up again. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to click into a roadmap that's been initiated by one of our product managers. And this is using the roadmap functionality that's built into Microsoft Project Online. This is going to show us, if we just kind of scroll over a little bit here, a visual roadmap that's depicting different projects. So you see on the left-hand side, we have different projects that we're tracking and managing. And then each of these rows, we have the reporting platform integration, the Silverlink modifier, the core software build. Each of these projects is going to involve different activities, different milestones, maybe sprints where you're delivering on sprints or specific functionality or features, as well as things like reviewing business goals and communicating with vendors. So you can see this roadmap, if I just filter it out a little bit, is a visual roadmap that allows me as an end user to go in and add different components of different projects simply by adding a row, selecting a project, either from Project Online or Azure DevOps in this case. So I can insert projects that are in my Agile tool, in my PPM tool, or a combination of both, all on one roadmap. And I can also set these higher level milestones. We have a pre-launch event coming up in April. In March, the CEO is going to be reviewing funding all around a specific product, and now we have a product roadmap that we're sharing with management. This is a really nice feature that Project Online offers called the Roadmaps function. What we're going to do now, we're just going to get right into Project Online. We're going to go to our Project Web App homepage. Just going to go to the bottom here, click Project Online. And this takes us to Project Web App, which is our landing page where all of our project management or our PPM functionality is going to be located. Now, one of the nice features of Project Online is it can be configured to reflect your business process. And right on this homepage, you see we're actually sharing a product management lifecycle, how we're going to be managing the projects within our product portfolio. We may go through initiation and ideation, detailed planning, execution, and closeout, so you can integrate your business process in with your PPM tool and actually make it interactive. One of the nice things is if you wanted people to learn a little more about the initiation process, they could click on that. And then if they wanted more information about a specific phase, how do I go about putting a project request in? Or what about project complexity? What does that mean? You could have another page behind that that actually puts the details on how project complexity works from a process perspective. And we're finding a lot of product-centric organizations are actually using this, and this is just core Office 365 tools. It's Project Online, SharePoint Online, and Visio Online to move away from having a separation between your process and your automation, your technology. Why not implement it and integrate it into one unified user interface? And so by doing this, we have our Project Web App homepage that also integrates our processes in, so people don't have to go look for a binder or call someone in the PMO. On the left side, we have all of our standard functionality, so we can do ideation, initiation, put new ideas and requests in, submit formal project requests and resource requests. We have our portfolio optimization and selection to run scenarios and what-if analysis, our execution, where we're tracking tasks and issues and risks and improving work, and also doing status reporting, and then the ability to do monitoring, controlling, and trending of the data. So from a product perspective, what we typically see is we're going into our project center now. I'm going to click on Project Pipeline. And this is going to take us into our project center, which for a product manager or a director or a line manager is going to be really a great centralized point where we can actually start to organize all of our projects related to our products in one place. So you can see I come in here as a senior executive and a part of the business, and I want to see how all the projects related to our products are doing. I can visualize those on our timeline, and visualization is really important from a product management perspective. But down here at the bottom, now we can actually separate for each product we have, hand tools, accessories, power tools, Empire, maybe it's insurance or casualty products you have, food products you have. You can start capturing metadata about each of those projects. So you can see we have a ranking for each project, the name of a project, the start and finish date, importantly the state, planning, corporate review, product review. Then we can have project complexity, where we're capturing that, overall project health, a risk rating, information such as what is the strategic theme? Why are we doing this project as it relates to the delivery of hand tools? Is it enhancements? Is it reducing sales channel? Is it procurement? What are the rationale for doing this project, as well as what organizational pillar does it align with? So we can start aligning this with our business priorities. Importantly, we can start looking at who's the project manager or owner, what's the project state, what workflow phase is it in, also costs. We can start capturing costs, total benefits. So we're spending $1 million, but we're realizing about $645,000 of benefits. We want it to kind of be flipped the other way and get more benefits than actual cost, as well as our forecast or our actual cost to date. So the Project Center is a great place to really organize all your projects as it relates to your products, and then you can help management visualize a timeline. So again, we go from that high-level timeline down to the next level of timelines. Now, if we wanted more information about a very specific product we have or a project going on, we can go to this X3 new product as an example. We see it's Agile. So what we can see on this product, we see we have a name, a start date, a project type, a project status, a project phase. So this can map to your lifecycle phases in your product lifecycle management or PLDM, who the product team lead is there a VP, as well as is it for a specific product. And if you're a manager and you want to go in and modify this information, you simply click on it, and you can start to see, here's our life cycle phases. Stage 0, 2, 4, and 5. What's the project status? This will map to your life cycle phases. Is there a vice president who's sitting over this business? What product or products are we actually supporting here? We can start to have a hierarchy of products, and then we can report on these all in one place. We can see which product team is assigned, and this is really important if you're doing any kind of team assignments of different kind of resources. Then we can group our resources and say, hey, everybody on the digital team, let's see what they're working on versus the web team. What is our objective? What region is it supporting? What subproduct? As well as what is the R&D phase of initial date? When are we initially thinking of going live out of R&D into production use of this? So we can capture this kind of information along with any other information about our project. Typically, we have project details, we have project schedule information here, and you can see an Agile schedule is much different than a traditional waterfall schedule, where we have different sprints and features. We're focused mainly on the features and how those are going to land. So when are the features landing, as well as what resource or resources are associated with tasks and activities in the project. We can always go and look at the different health indicators to see how projects are progressing from a health, budget, scope, schedule, and quality perspective. These can be selected by a project manager or driven by data in the system, which is a little more popular, as well as starting to align with your business strategies and goals. So when we look at the X3 new product enhancement, does that help us expand into new markets? Is it helping improve customer sat? Is it helping with product quality? Is it expanding into existing markets? We can start to align the specific project with the product and then the business drivers around that specific product. And then we always have a collaboration site where teams can work together. So at a top level, we have the ability to actually drill down from that portfolio view of the products down to the projects and start to separate them out in different ways. You can see this is called the Project Center, and this is a great place to really organize all the projects you have and the products around them. Okay. The second place we're going to go is around resource management. So this is where we're going to be able to go and look at team resource assignments. So we talked about how important it is when you're delivering a product to manage the resources, not just assume they're available. To do this, we have an enterprise resource pool in Project Online, and then what we can do is we can organize our resources into skills. For instance, maybe I'm the manager of a series of developers and field researchers that are looking into new functionality we're looking for in our products. I have the ability as a manager to go in and say, well, let me take a quick snapshot look and see what people are working on and if I have a utilization problem, because I know there's some new work coming up. This is going to give us a view into resource utilization. So we're going to see month over month, what is my total capacity? So here is where my engineers sit right now. So it looks like I've actually got some availability for the next 3 or 4 months. But then when I click on the product engineer, the role, that is all the unfulfilled demand. That's all the requests coming in for potential work that's either proposed or potentially booking that we may do, which may push us over under our capacity. This allows us to be a good planner and say where I am now, and if I look at each of my resources, are my people overbooked because they have more work, or are they available and underutilized, such as Erwin in the months of July, August, and September, because he ends his project work about that time. It's also going to give me visibility into all the requests coming in. So as you get new project requests into your queue, you're going to see the product engineer role is going to start to fill up with a certain number of availability. So it's going to go against your total capacity for all of the people to play the engineer role. And then you're going to be able to see which projects in my queue are driving the demand for those resources over time. And it's going to help you really drive that conversation with your stakeholders as to, if you want me to do all this work, I'm going to need more people, or I'm going to have to shift certain projects out. And there's some strategic portfolio management tools involved in the tool as well that you can start to use to do that. You can also go and do resource assignments and say, well, let's look, over the next 60 to 90 days, if I look at each of my resources, what are they working on? How many activities do they have? And whether it's a waterfall or an agile project, it really doesn't matter. You're tracking down at the level you want to track at, whether it's summary level or task level, so you can see if you have people that are positively or negatively available. You can make sure you can allocate resources to the highest priority projects that deliver on the products you're looking for. Really important stuff. Okay. So with each resource that's in the system, they're actually going to be able to track their own work. They're going to be able to go to this area called My Tasks, and now putting on the hat of more of a developer or somebody who's playing the role of a team member, maybe an analyst on one of your teams, or a product developer, they're going to be able to come in and on each project they're assigned to, see each of the tasks, whether it's a feature, whether you're just tracking time on it, or whether it's a specific activity in a project, and they can come book their hours. They can say, today it's good news, I did 8 hours on this task, I did 8 hours on this one, but then I only have 280 hours left to finish the task. So what I'm doing is I'm helping my project manager reforecast what the finish dates are going to be and how much work is remaining. I'm telling the project manager I'm going to finish early or I'm going to finish late, and that's going to roll into the master schedules that are behind the scenes so they can do better planning and expectation setting with senior management. And that's how team member time tracking really becomes an important part of this process. Without that, you have the product managers or project managers updating the information directly into the system. So, what does that look like if I'm a project manager? I'm going to go into Microsoft Project now. And now I'm going to be building out a work breakdown structure. And if it's an agile project, I'm working on software, I may be tracking more at a feature level. So I can track things that are features, user stories, tasks, or I can go just down to the standard requirements, design, build, test, deploy. If I'm in an agile project, typically I'm tracking up at this level or at a feature level, but I know there are activities going on behind the scenes in my DevOps system. So what we've done is we've actually developed an integration between Azure DevOps and Project Online. So we can get a view into that project in Azure DevOps and see behind access and authentication, there's 3 user stories here with a series of tasks behind them. They're going to have to finish the ability to log in, ability for fewer users, single sign-on. These are things that have to get done for me to finish or check off at 100% complete access and authentication. So as a project manager, I may not really care about those details, maybe I do, or I may just care about the summary, how much work, when's it going to finish, and what resources are associated with it. But what this does, it provides me with that visibility. So I can actually click on one of these activities, click on Open Work Item, and it actually is going to take me into Azure DevOps now. It's going to show me that specific task or work item. It's going to show me when I click on this, who's assigned to it, in this case Sonny Crockett, the start and finish date, the remaining work, and the completed work, and any description behind the task. As a project manager, this is like magic, because now I can not only have to talk to the team, I can get their updates, and I can actually synchronize these when things are updated in Azure DevOps over here, when this task is marked complete, or if I go to a visual board, and my development team has taken a task here that's active and moved it to resolved, or added a new feature to the active list. What I can do is once that happens, I can actually go refresh the data, and it's going to update my percent complete here on the project. So what we've done is we've developed two-way integration between Project Online and Azure DevOps, so project managers can own their updates to the schedule, but get those updates from the actual team members and status and progress the project as it goes forward. This is a really nice feature, and it's an add-on that we've developed, and you can actually use this to actually bring the data from the two systems together. So, getting out of that, what most folks ask for after scheduling is really reporting. This is a core requirement. So what we're going to do to get reports is we're going to jump into Power BI, and we're going to jump into some dashboards and reports that are used to manage projects, but product-centric. So one of those is a strategic portfolio dashboard. This is a dashboard that we've developed just to show examples of how you can roll this up. So you can see for products here, you can go in and select the products, again, hand tools, Empire, insurance products, and when you click on one of those, it's actually going to filter out the rest of the parts of the report, so you can see I've got 7 projects that are a part of hand tools, and show me the ones that are yellow right now, and then I can just get a listing of those for hand tools in yellow, and then I can see just the projects that are in the yellow right now, as well as any start date, costs, remaining work, My budget is here, and I can see the burn of my financials over time on that specific part of the portfolio versus the portfolio as a whole. It's a really nice way for an executive or a product manager to get in and start to drill into things like show me the red projects. And I can see most of my red projects are actually coming from Empire and then the other products I've got here. And here's where my cost overrun is. Here's my active issues and risks. And then I have the ability to actually drill down into this data if I want to. You can start to deploy product strategy maps as well that look against cost, risk, and project work and say, let's drill into just specific ones. And by clicking on one or two of these, I can see which projects I have, or I can see the big outlier here. What's the big gray outlier? And that happens to be the audit tracking solution that's being worked on. It's in the red, and Sarah's the owner right now. So I can start to identify the big projects that are going to have a big impact on the delivery of my different products. You can also start to identify risks and start to look again across your products at some of the top risks that are out there and say, well, show me the market risks or the regulatory risks or the compliance risks associated with each one, and again, drill into that information. Finally, from a resource perspective, you can start drilling into it from a role and say, show me my developers. Which projects are consuming my developers as well as my analysts, as well as my engineers. So I can start to highlight different resources and start to see which of them on a curve perspective, where most of my resources are being spent. So it's not only about the collaboration, the assignment of the resources, it's about the analysis to say, well, if we just focus in on the product developers, which projects are they responsible for? Are they spending most of their time on? And I can see it's one or two very large projects we have here. Finally, we have the ability to drill into things like resource availability and get a project dashboard as it relates to all the products I have. So this is a really nice thing to have a bunch of Power BI reports and dashboards specific to products. If you are in the Agile world, I'll show you, there are some reports and dashboards that could be configured to support Agile. So for instance, here's a portfolio dashboard where we can actually start to pick our organizational pillars, our strategic themes, which are key to the Agile lifecycle, or products, and say, let's just pick one or two products here. So let's go with this, and this, and this. We can pick the products we want to analyze, and then from that we can see within them, here are all the projects related to those products, and here's exactly where they are and how they align with our strategic goals. It's a really nice way to work with your senior management to say, okay, let's go product by product and analyze them. And by the way, we have a pretty big cost variance here we may want to analyze, or a work variance as well. So these reports and dashboards are meant to really be fairly interactive to drive better business decision making so you can get to the point where you're making a key decision. A lot of our clients are actually using, as we mentioned, Azure DevOps. You can actually drive your reporting on Azure DevOps out of the tool as well. So look at things like work items by state, work items by assignee. So again, which of my resources are working on what work items and how critical are they? Or we can get down to a sprint level. If we're really looking to kind of manage the activities in the sprints, we can come down here to one of our sprint tracking reports that's again pulling information from Azure DevOps. And now we've got the Agile motion data, the sprint goal, how much is committed and how much is done, show me what's been done, and then that'll actually drill into the data in the report, and you can see exactly who is working on which activities. So you can do your sprint monitoring, your task monitoring, your velocity monitoring. If you're trying to integrate Agile in as a methodology, you can use some of these reports, your Agile tool like Azure DevOps, to pull all this information together and report off of it. And even look at different teams. Let's look at our network team versus our operations team versus our cloud and our DevOps teams using standard Power BI reporting. So hopefully this gives you some ideas as to what's possible. Kind of wrapping this up, we found a lot of organizations have been adopting teams. So what we can do is we can use teams as a wrapper around this entire process. For every project in the system, we have some automation that automatically sets up a team that gives that team access to all the data we just showed you. You could actually have it automatically create that project document library in SharePoint Online, pull it into the teams. You can have the team notebook, so there's complete transparency and visibility into all the meeting minutes and action items that are coming out of your status meetings as you're building up to a product release or a product cycle. You've got access to that project schedule, which is really the core information about when things are getting delivered from a scheduling perspective. And I'll come up here. Yep. And now we see our project schedule on the health assessment reporting project, which we can then drill into and get all the data we need. We can go in and look at all the risks on the project. So we're finding a lot of our clients are actually driving a lot of their standard status reporting directly out of Teams, because Teams can aggregate the data on risks. It can aggregate the data on issues. Again, this is stored in your project online system. It can also allow you to go in and monitor and manage change. So if you wanted to do change control and see all the changes associated, maybe apply some of these, push them through a workflow for approval, add documentation for them. You can leverage some Microsoft technology such as Power Apps and move it through a Power Apps process. Even do your status reporting. So we showed you some status reports before. What if you could go to Power BI right through Teams to access all this information? It really becomes the central hub for all the information on your products and your projects. So think of Teams as a great enabler, and we found that about 85% of the enterprises we work with today have moved to Teams as kind of a core platform. The good thing here is this is all methodology agnostic, whether you're using Waterfall, a specific product lifecycle management methodology, Scrum, Agile, whatever that is, or SAFe or Kanban, it can all be integrated directly in. The tools are really methodology agnostic. It's a matter of pulling in the right pieces for the job based on what you're trying to achieve. So just kind of talking a little bit about some of the best practices we've learned in deploying these systems over the last few years. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is the business problem or question you're looking to solve? If you can get to the bottom of that, you can start to define how a system is going to be defined and set up to meet your requirements. You also want to work to identify the process or the key pain points in your process that you want to track, manage, and report against that you can't do today. For a lot of organizations, just having an inventory of all the projects, having schedules behind the projects, assigning resources to them, and doing status reporting is a huge move forward. It kind of gets you to that crawl of the crawl, walk, run. So start to identify these process areas that can add a lot of value immediately, and don't look too far beyond that. Get really good at that, and then you can expand beyond that past execution. And you also need to understand that when you're managing projects and resources within a product, it's different. It's different than doing standard PMI project management. It's going to map up to certain different outcomes than a project would, but projects are a key part of developing products. So you may involve different tools.
Hey Rob, we're losing you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Hardly, you're breaking up.
Oh, okay. Is this any better? No? Let's give it a second here.
No. Give it a second. Is this sounding any better, Sarah, or not? Yes, you sound better.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. So really understanding that you may involve different tools. If you have development tools or development life cycles, you may be looking at a tool like Azure DevOps. Power BI may be required to aggregate the data together, so you're looking beyond just a PPM platform to get the work done. But you also want to figure out a way to leverage the tools you have. If you have existing skills around tools like Project and Office, tools like Power BI and Azure DevOps, leverage them instead of going to a whole new set of tools. And using Microsoft PPM is usually a transition for most people versus an entirely new platform move. And importantly, you want to make sure you train everybody on your teams based off of their role. What is your job and how are you going to use the tool? Don't assume people know how to use these tools, and don't train people on things they're never going to use, they don't need to know, based off their role. So product managers get different training than executives, different training than your team members or developers. And finally, remember that key parts of these system rollouts are resource management and reporting, and they're always going to be evolving. Those are continuous requests you're going to be getting from the business and from your product teams and investment teams. So prepare for this. And you're not going to solve the problem up front. It's going to be multiple iterations. They will always come back to you and ask for more reporting information, better information and insight into resources and resource planning so they can actually hit the goals they're looking for. So that's really a part of the overall iterative process. And finally, what you want to do is reach out to partners like a Progility that have experience implementing these kind of solutions in a product development organization. We've been doing this work for about 15 years, and of that, about 13 years of that, we've actually worked about 2-3 times a year with product-centric organizations. It's not just an IT solution. So if you are looking for solutions in these areas, definitely feel free to reach out to us. Well, with that, Sarah, that concludes our presentation. At this point, I think we can open the floor to questions. I'll just turn the Q&A manager on. There you go, and see if anyone has any questions.
All right, thanks, Rob. The chat window is open, so if anyone has any questions, please type them into the chat window. All right, Rob, I think we can give everyone 10 more seconds. Okay, I don't think we have any questions today. Okay, thank you everybody for joining our webinar today. If you have any questions or we can help you identify the right solution to address your current challenges, please reach out to me, Sarah Howard at sarahhoward@progility.com. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar.